friends. Welcome back to another episode of Semi-Pro Gridiron Rant. My man, Kendall, the Silver Fox Stealth Anderson on the screen with me.
Perfect.
Dude, listen, like you got a lot of comments about your hair, bro.
I did, bro. So here's the funny thing. Number one, I want to thank everybody that reached out and busted my balls on my gray hair, but also lots of great compliments about our show. You know, we definitely appreciate you guys reaching out. Even some nice suggestions of what they might want to see, some topics, stuff like that. So we're gonna, try to move that for me. But as far as the Silver Fox goes, I've had at least a dozen people mention the grayness of my hair. Now,
well, I think that because a lot of people haven't seen you, like me and you, I haven't physically seen you in probably 8 years, 10 years, whatever.
Right. Yeah. So, I've gone into hibernation, right? I mean, between the last 10 years since I left the shock, I've lived in Jacksonville for 3 or 4 years, and then I moved in here. I'm going in Texas now, almost 2 years.
Yep.
And I always wore a brush cut. So now, for some reason, as I'm old, I decided I want to grow my hair out. And my hair said, just take a quick
look at that salt and pepper hair you got going on.
Just take a look at that there. So,
yeah.
So, I appreciate all those comments, folks, to remind me of how old I look. Although one of my buddies said, "You're a silver fox, but your face looks good. Your face doesn't look old."
I don't know if he's.
It's just the hair.
I think he might just be making you feel better about yourself.
I think he was actually. Sure. But no,
I only got a couple grays in the red, so we're good.
Yeah, but you also have the beauty of turn that hat backwards for me, just real quick.
Huh? What, this way?
Yeah.
There we go. Is that better?
Folks, tell me he's not a giant leprechaun right there. He is the real.
Listen, the red looks good. Look how close. Look how good that looks, man.
He's a legit leprechaun. So if this gig doesn't work out for us, if we don't make it big, someday, somehow, he can always double as a stunt double leprechaun for somebody.
I'm well past those days, bro. Well past those days. Although I will tell you because I've had this basically, I don't know, for my entire career, putting a helmet on and getting it in the chin strap was always kind of fun. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. And you have it remember the old ones that were the chin straps crossed over and your little beard?
Oh.
Your little beard would hang out the little holes there.
Yep. Stick up the sides.
Yeah.
And then you would get it jacked up into your face. Yeah, it was always a good time.
For sure. I originally grew this because I could, which took me till I was about 25 to actually do it, and then it did help with the friction of keeping the chin strap in place. So I had to.
Yes.
That definitely helped there too.
Yes, absolutely.
Also, here's a quick story that I didn't tell you about. So I was talking to Stefan, last week's guest. And he's been fine tuning my diet a little bit. He added some cardio to my training this week. So we started talking, and so I for a few years I trained in Rochester because I worked about 5-6 years out in Rochester, and I was working out at Powerhouse Gym. And I asked him if he heard of Bob Ciccarello, and he's like, "Yeah, of course, he's the announcer."
Chick, love Chick
for Mr. Olympia. And then I said, "Yeah, I was approached." I said, "Have you ever heard of George Farah?" And he says, "Yeah, I know George. He's the champion maker." I said, "Is that what they call him?" He's like, "Yeah, yes. That's his name."
Yep.
I said, what's funny is when I was working out in Rochester, I was 27 years old.
Yep.
And I was living in the gym. I had just moved to Rochester. I stopped playing ball for a few years, so I was just concentrating on the gym. He approached me in the gym, and he asked me if he could train me. I told him no.
George?
I told him no. He said, "Listen, dude, I'll even feed you. I'll make all your meals. I'll prep everything. I'll train you." He said, "You'll win. You'll win." And I'm like, I said, "No, you know why?" I said, "George, I don't like the diet. And number two, I don't want to be on stage in a bikini." Dude, I turned down one of the biggest dudes that in today's pro bodybuilding. How dumb am I?
Yeah. I don't know if you would have won anything. I mean, it takes, you gotta learn how to pose.
Yeah. Well, yeah, dude, but just to be approached by a guy
in your underwear. Yeah.
No,
that's good.
I didn't even know who he was.
Where were you at?
Raquel's Powerhouse.
At Rock's place, right?
Yeah, in Greece, just next to Kodak Park. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I first got into radio, and the guys I trained with and stuff like that, Jeremy Freeman here, I used to MC his bodybuilding shows. So you would meet all those guys, and then we'd go to Rochester because a lot of people that competed here would do the Rochester show, which Rock, who I don't know if he still owns that gym out there, but he had his own gym, and Chick and all those guys, you know what I mean? We'd hang with them. So
used to be where a lot of the WWE guys would go when they were in town.
Yeah.
They would train there. So yeah, it was a, I never bumped into any of them, but when they moved to, I spent a little bit of time, and they had an old location a couple blocks away from where they currently are, and it was, dude, they're on the 3rd floor, and on leg day it was the worst. Coming down those stairs on leg day, it was 3 floors, and it was straight down, and it was hot as hell up there on that 3rd floor, dude. But then
one step at a time.
Right. Then they moved over closer to Kodak Park, and it was, at least it was only 2 floors, and they had the dungeon and everything. The legs were in the dungeon. You still had to come up the stairs after leg day. But so I just saw, I laughed. He told me that. I'm like, I didn't know they called George the champion maker, man. I turned down one of the best dudes, and even, just to be trained by him. I'm not saying I would have won anything either, but I'm just saying, dude, I turned down one of the best trainers and dietitians in the pro bodybuilding world. What an idiot I was.
Well, yeah, he wasn't then. I mean, he is now, but he wasn't.
Right. He wasn't then. Yeah. Yep, for sure. And I remember him training a kid there. He was young too. The kid might've been 20 years old. He was young, maybe even in his teens, upper teens, but the kid blew up in a matter of months. I mean, George was just, made this kid huge in a matter of months. It was months, a year. Right. But yeah, I was like, I was just laughing. I'm like, God, I'm a moron. It could have been my 5 minutes of fame right there. Right. Hey, I trained with George Farah. Nope. Instead I said, nah.
How many times in your life have you had, damn it, I should have just paid attention. Those 5 minutes of fame would have been
Right.
something.
Right. Well, there's one. Actually, going to classes while at Canisius might have been my first example of that.
That's definitely, that's number one right there.
Actually, they had tunnel systems to go to class. I still didn't go. I'm like, I'm not going. Yeah. I practiced. I did my work study program, and that was about it. Played a little Nintendo with the basketball players across the hall. That's about as far as I go. And it's a miracle I only lasted 1 semester. I mean, I don't know how.
This is why you're a car guy, because what else could you do?
Exactly right. That's funny too, because that's a whole different show, how I got in the car business. But you're right. I came home from college. My buddy was selling cars at the time. I'm like, yeah, why the hell not? Might as well try something.
Better than digging a ditch or any of the other crap out there right now.
Absolutely right. So the other thing is, you busted my balls about going all in on a sponsor last week. It's not even a sponsor, right? It was our guest sponsor, right? Instead of ours, right?
Sponsor.
So I decided to return the favor for you. Now, again, folks, this isn't an official sponsor. This is actually Big Hank's gym himself. That's right.
You're wearing my shirt. Yeah.
I'm rocking the shirt. You can see, I don't know if you can see it. It's real small.
Yeah.
But it does say 315 strong in the helmet of the Viking here.
Yeah.
So
that's
the Valhalla. So
that's the new one.
Yeah, that's your new one. Yeah. And I wore your other Chicks Dig, the
Power
Belly. I wore that at the auction the other day. You should have seen all the eyes I was getting. People looking at me like, what's up with this dude?
They just don't understand.
Cool. So what's this? I mean, I'm not a Viking master. Like, I don't know much about the Vikings, but isn't Valhalla like heaven? Is it compete to heaven? What is it? What is Valhalla?
The actual, let's see here, the actual Norse mythology, right? It's a majestic, enormous hall located in Asgard, ruled over by the god Odin. So, yeah. So half of those who die in combat travel to Valhalla upon death, led by Valkyries, while the other half go to the goddess Freya's field. I can't pronounce that other word, but that's what Wikipedia says.
Gotcha. So just compete till you die is what you're telling us.
Basically, yeah, brother, you got to do it.
Okay.
Isn't that kind of what we've done, though? I mean, think about it. Like, obviously we're not doing it when we're 80 because we're probably not going to be able to walk, but,
Right. Yeah, it's funny you were talking about Stefan and how last week's guest, how beating up on the body working out is, right? So I just started. I actually went back into a gym this week instead of my home gym because I outgrew my home gym stuff. So I'm up the street, and I'm home, and every day, the next morning I wake up, I'm like, damn, I don't like right now. I've got a forearm strain a little bit. I'm like, I don't even remember tweaking that yesterday, let alone it. You wake up and you have all these crazy, where your body pushes my shoulders nonstop, or I'm popping ibuprofens like they're candy just to keep the inflammation down. But it's good times. Glad to be back. Please tackle that subscription bar and also stiff arm the bell so you can be notified when our next video comes out.
All right, so here we are. Welcome back. Semi-Pro Gridiron Rants. It is interview time now. From the Troy Fighting Irish, Ryan Job. What's happening, buddy? How are you?
How are you guys? I appreciate you having me.
No, thanks for joining us.
So 2007 was the inception of the team. Is that correct?
Yeah, going on 14 years now, almost 15.
Wow.
Like I was just telling Kenny, we talked the other day, and I'm like, I don't remember playing that. But then I'm like, no, we did, because we were still the Express then.
Oh, you spanked us.
Yeah, well, and then I just
yeah, I remember. Trust me.
I'm like, man, Kenny too. I was like, I think we might have beat them 72-0 a couple times.
Yeah, it was. I want to say like our second game ever. I think it was like 66-7 or something like that. You guys whooped us. It was bad.
Wow.
It was bad.
Yeah.
So I was telling them that I've never coached against you. I've never played against you. You're one of the few teams in New York I haven't had the privilege to actually go head to head against. So that's
well,
I don't know how
you were in what, Carthage, and at one point, and then I think by the time you went to Syracuse, I think we were different leagues, and
yeah, it just never happened. Somehow we slipped. Two strangers passing in the night. We never butted head to head for some reason, which is a shame, because I was telling Smoothie the reason I'm excited to have you on here is I don't know much about you, other than when I joined coaching for the Revolution. We joined the league you guys were in, and then I kind of liked your group. I liked your team. I liked how you guys ran yourselves. You guys were straight up honest in the league meetings. Even though you guys were the youngest of the owner group, you took no shit from anybody. And I'm like, I like these dudes. I like these dudes. So I'm gonna gravitate in their general direction.
Yeah.
So kind of give us a breakdown. Hank, you already touched on it. 2007 was your inaugural season, right?
Yeah, started out
Why?
in 2007.
Let's start with the why.
Geez.
What brought you to semi-pro football?
I was playing I was actually playing college football at Siena College, and they dropped their program. My freshman year, I got involved with playing out in Glove City, actually, and it was probably the worst 2 years of my life. So
colonial life, huh?
Yeah, it was not good. So yeah, me and my brother, and then his now wife, just decided, instead of driving an hour, I mean, we could honestly start a team in Troy. Even if we got beat up, at least we wouldn't have to make that drive anymore. So kind of went from there.
Yeah. So that's so your team's been around quite a while, and I'm looking at your website here, and I know you won a ton of chips, man, but you pretty much won a chip every year since 2010, other than 18.
Yeah, I was about to say a couple of years there. I want to say past like 10 years, it's been something like 5 championships, been in 8 league titles, a couple national games. It's been fun. I mean,
how many nationals have you claimed? Looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 runner-up. 3 runner-up.
Yeah, a couple runner-up, and I want to say 1 national. We got spanked this past year by a good capital city team. But yeah, it's been a fun run, Yeah.
Again, that's something I haven't been able to do. We got invited as the Shock, but I never we couldn't put a team together. They just couldn't, the guys getting the money together, and I don't. So that's one of the things that I don't, for the guys out there, I kind of reference Ryan's team, and I want to make sure I say this right because I always kind of butcher it. It's Troy's Fighting Irish.
Yeah.
I reference his team too. They're like the Oregon Ducks of semi-pro. These dudes have banging uniforms every year. He designs a new layout a new helmet every year, new pants, new jerseys.
There's guys catching us now. There's teams out there that are putting me to shame now.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's funny with that because when we were like, I never care about uniforms. Like, I'm like, 1 color, 2 color. All right, let's wear it. Let's go. I mean, we played my first couple of years with the Express. We changed from Ohio State to this ugly white Penn State, and and the jerseys didn't even match that. And you're like, okay, well, I'll never forget in my backyard, and my parents were stripping helmets and spray painting them on a clothesline. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And now obviously helmets are a little cheaper than they were back then, and better made too. But you kind of were one of the first teams in semi-pro to do that, man. Why did you guys, just decide, hey, listen, we're going to look good. Let's just redesign jerseys and helmets all the time?
I think a lot of it was just the players at the time. When we first started, we had a good core, and just talking to them, like, you guys want to do this, you want to do that. And then I actually started getting away from, ordering through, Rawlings at the time we used, and, Nike and Adidas are always super expensive. Started going overseas with them. So then the designs just got a little crazier from there. So, but yeah, it was mostly the players, wanting it that way. So just kind of ran with it.
What was of all the years you've been doing this, and I'll ask you to send me a picture of it too, so I can put it up on here.
Oh boy.
What was your favorite uniform that you designed?
To be honest, one of the guys I used to play for us, I was a free safety, used to do most of the designs. And we did one year. It was supposed to have the T on it and navy blue and the whole nine. And the uniform vendor messed it up. Came out baby blue. The T came out baby blue on it. And
would you say shock blue?
Yeah, a little bit of
Syracuse shock blue, maybe.
Yeah. And it looked awesome. And to be honest, it was funny because they messed it up completely, and it came out awesome.
Cool. So hey, so that's how some of the best foods have been invented, right? Somebody screwed something up, and also, damn, that tasted good. We're gonna run with that. We're gonna call it spaghetti.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because Kenny, when I came back to playing after I took a couple of years off, Kenny owned the Shock, and we had those the jerseys that we got from you.
Yeah.
And Kenny says, "Hey, listen, I'm gonna get you like a 5XL jersey." I'm like, dude, bro, no, give me like a 2. I want it tight. Like, I don't want it. So I get this jersey. It's monstrous, right? And I know I was a little bit fatter. So, but I'm like, I go to my mom and I'm like, you need to take this in. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, Kenny's like, what? I kind of looked at you and I kind of figured to get you this size. And I'm like, dude. I'm a lineman.
I didn't realize a size 5 in a football jersey could cover a home. I didn't realize
huge.
I didn't listen. You're a big fella, right? But those were great. The cool thing I like about that, we did use it for the Shock, and basically you can design anything you wanted, which was so cool with that company. You'd sit down and, hey, we want this, and they turned our numbers into lightning bolts, which we just kind of said, hey, what if you can make the numbers lightning bolts? The guy's like, all right, hold on, let me figure it out. Boom, a week later he sends us these lightning bolt jerseys. So it was, it was pretty cool. Take us from 2007. You've decided, your brother Sarah get together, right? And you say, we're gonna start this team. Give us some of that the trials and tribulations of that first year, and had you scratch your head and said, well, do I want to play for Glens Falls, or do I want to play for Albany? This might just be a hell of a lot easier.
Do I want to do anything besides this? Yeah.
Right.
It was not good. I mean, we had, everybody goes through their woes and their growing pains. And we only had a roster of, I think, 40 at the time. And it was a dysfunctional group. It really was, from coaching to playing, but it was kind of dipping your toes in and really, seeing what worked and seeing what didn't. It really took us probably those first 3 years to really grow it into, a contender.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And once you hit 2010, that was your first NFA championship. And then you were rolling. I mean, like I said, you've been looks like a champion every year except 18. Do I want to ask what happened in 18? We'll get to that later, but
we had a couple of years. Yeah.
So we've had a few Syracuse players go play for you, and I know they've loved the experience. They had, you got one of the guys that I played alongside with, Brian Williams, came down, played with you as well. He's a great dude.
Awesome guy.
Yeah, it's a great. So kind of give the landscape of between yourself, Glove Cities, Albany, and Glens Falls. You're all battling for the best athletes, in the area. So, and ironically, Albany and yourselves are historically, and I understand Albany doesn't have a team right now, but historically, your two teams, although two different leagues, tend to contend every year. How the hell do you make that happen splitting so thin?
I don't know. A lot of out of town guys, I guess. I mean, there's a lot of talent in this area, and the Capital District is a big place to recruit from and all that. But I mean, we really didn't hit our stride. We were kind of Albany's little brother, a little younger. They had a lot of the vets. A lot of even guys from Syracuse area that went down and played in Albany. But about 2010, we just started to kind of get the coaching together. Before that, it was a little, schemes weren't as good. Then we brought in Pete Purcelli in 2010 and just kind of hit the ground running that year. Haven't really looked back, knock on wood, haven't really looked back since.
Right. When was the day when can you remember sitting there? Sorry, Hank, I'll let you get to the next one. Can you remember the day where you sat up and just said, dude, we're going to make it? Because semi-pro teams, the fact that you've lasted, what'd you say, 14 seasons?
Yeah, going on 14 this year.
That's a huge, Syracuse has had 3 teams since you've started, right? 3 different teams, or at least 2 teams.
Yeah.
And you've kept one team in an area where there's been multiple other teams competing at the same time. When did you sit up and just say, damn it, we're going to make it. And we're going to be here a while.
I mean, I think that 2009 season that we had was our 3rd year. And we had talent. We did not have the coaching. Once that 2010 season hit, I think that was the year. And it slowed a little bit since. I think the biggest thing we battle with now is, guys that are looking to come play and they say, oh, well, they have their starters, even though you guys know semi-pro football changes dramatically every single year.
Right.
So it's kind of a little bit, teams locally use it recruiting wise against us. They're an established team. They got their starters, which we don't. But yeah, I think that 2010 season is when we really realized we're going to be here for a little bit.
Sweet.
What kind of support system do you guys have down there in Troy? I know it's been a while since I've been anywhere near the game, and that's by design in my world. Because if I go anywhere near the game, I'm going to want to put pads and a helmet on and go play. So I purposely, like, all the guys here, like, dude, you don't come to games. Like, no, you're right. I don't come to games because if I do, I'm be like, these guys suck. I want to play, and I'm 41. I don't need to do that.
You're gonna be like Al Preston that we have.
Yeah, I'm not interested in that anymore. You know what I mean? But what kind of support system do you have in the community there?
We struggled at first. We were in Schenectady for a long. We were at Troy High. Yeah, we were at Troy High initially, but they didn't have lights, locker rooms. They wouldn't let us use, so we had to go off site. We went to Schenectady for the longest time. And they were awesome to us, the AD over at that high school. And then we finally got a chance 2014, 2015 to get back in Troy and go to Lansingburg. And it's been fantastic since. It's a
do you find it funny? Do you find it funny, though? Like, I know here, because of, like, there's been previously owners or coaches or this or that high schools, they won't touch you, right? They're like, no, you're not playing here. Did you have that problem out there too?
Yeah, we battled a little bit. I think the biggest thing when we started out is nobody knowing you. So it was always, oh, you guys are like the Maulers.
Yes,
we always battled that.
Right.
Yeah, same type of level, different league,
Right.
Yeah.
But
that's one of the reasons that we changed from the Express to the Shock, because the Express and all the good things that happened, 3 national titles and that, but over that 25 years that the team was here, you get that bad stigma, right? So you're trying to get rid of that stigma. And I know that the Syracuse Storm, they did very well, but they even end up having that stigma too at one point, and having to change names, to the Shock when we did, and because we thought it would get rid of that stigma, but it doesn't get rid of that stigma. You know what I mean?
No, I get it.
Yeah, semi-pro, unfortunately, all most people hear is the semi. And they treat it like that, unfortunately. Even, the thing that part of the reason this podcast was invented or came out, I guess, is to show that there's more to us than just a bunch of idiots, living out our glory days on the gridiron. A lot of guys doing cool things afterwards, things like, being an owner. That's, giving back to the community, folks, that ain't cheap. At some point, Ryan's dug into his pocket and had to pay. The numbers I paid annually out of my own pocket so that other people could play football. It's a very expensive hobby for the owner to allow these other people to play the game But I always said I felt that I owed it because people did it for me for so long. So I felt I was in a position at that time where I could pay it forward. So, so that's kind of why I did what I did. But so you were at the Colonials and obviously had a bad experience there. Said, hey, we're going to do this ourselves. Kind of battled through the ups and downs for 2-3 seasons, and then 2010 hits and you guys start running. Right, you guys are on a roll.
Yeah.
You brought in the coaching staff. Now, is this the coach that runs that crazy running offense that you guys have?
Yeah, I've coached. This is the first year I won't be doing high school with him. I think in almost 10 years. But yeah, that was his staple, the double wing, and it worked for us. A lot of his ex players that played locally at Lansingburg and stuff like that were on the team too. So it was a pretty easy install as a whole. So I mean, it worked. It worked for us.
Yeah, I mean, and the cool thing about, I've watched film on you guys, and I'm like, Jesus, how do you stop this thing, right? I mean, because you never know who's getting the ball. When you watch that double.
46 defense, that's how you stop that, baby.
Just put 10 in the box and have a really fast safety over the top. That's all you can really do, and pray, right, that your linebacker's flowing in the right direction. But it was always the advantage you have is nobody else runs it. Everyone's trying to run some form of a pro offense, or more and more guys are going into a more mobile quarterback offense, and so you're running this thing that nobody sees. And it's not like we're in a position to say, all right, in the off season, at least not most coaches don't, I'm going to prepare for Troy, and I'm going to learn this double wing offense, and I'm going to find a way. Most guys wait to the weekend before and go, all right, we won yesterday's game. Oh shit, we played Troy this week. I've never seen this offense before. How in the hell are we going to shut it down? So you definitely had that advantage going for you.
Yeah, as a quarterback in it, I think we saw every defense possible. I remember Utica, 2000, it was probably 2012-ish, decided, hey, we're going to stop the run. We're going to sell out on the run, and we're going to run a 6-3 and just man up on the outside. And, it was a semifinal game. I think they lost 46-6 or something like that week.
Well, the thing you have too, though, is not only did you have an offense that not many people have seen, but you had athletes too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's not pretend that this was some startup that had a bunch of scrubs running around that, didn't have matching jersey or helmets. I mean, you guys, you built the organization and you had players. So you were able to, okay, jackass, you want to load the box and you want to play one-on-one on the outside. Watch what we do to you here. I mean, it's not like you didn't know how to throw the ball.
No. And that's what happened to those guys. I mean, I played with some, Brandon Hill was a receiver that just stopped playing for us. And, he was probably one of the best athletes I've ever shared a field with, coached the whole nine. And I can't tell you how many games that kid won, just jump balls on the outside or beating a corner deep and, blowing open a game. So, definitely fortunate to have some guys like that on the outside.
Yeah, for sure. And then again, it's pick your poison, right? I mean, with your guys, it's
right.
Yeah, you think when you watch you that, hey, we're going to stuff the run here. But, we got some guys on the outside. And, our running backs are extremely great athletes as well, too. So don't think they're not slipping out in the flats or running a vertical on you, too.
So Ryan, you guys are still in the NFA? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd never been in another league. This past year, I tried to go to one other, and I was told no.
Really?
Yeah, it was interesting.
What's what? And I know me and Kenny have been. Kenny spent many years in the EFL. Obviously, I've spent majority of my career in the NFA or NYAFL before that is what it was. But what's obviously you said you tried to go, but what's kept you guys in that league? Because there's a lot of options, you know what I mean, in semi-pro right now. But what's kept you in the NFA for as long as it has?
I think JR coming in as commissioner. I mean, they bounced around. It was Jim Baker when I first started. Went to Greg Porchline, was running it for a little bit. Terrace Kulik, and I think JR when he came on board really kept me there, kept me believing in what we were trying to build. And this past year, like I said, I tried to leave for the first time in 14 years, and was nicely told no. And here we are in the NFA again.
It's wild that, and Ken, you could probably answer this too, that leagues, because we've always wanted, I know me and Kenny have talked about it, and even I've talked about it with other guys, like it would be awesome to play in a 20 to 25 team league, just this league. You don't have to go and play in a bowl game here or some tournament there.
Yeah.
You're going to play this league, and then you're going to win a championship, and you're going to go to a national game.
Yeah,
right?
my last year coaching. So we were in the boardroom, and actually I was on the phone with Ryan in my
I remember.
in my meeting. Oh, that's right, you were with me.
I was with you, yeah.
And we were going back and forth trying to unite the leagues, at least have crossovers.
Yep.
And last minute, they weren't having it. So
I'll never. And that was the first one Kenny ever brought me in. And I was in a couple NFA board meetings. I think the year after we beat Glove City's 112-0, there was a huge uproar. And we're sitting in that, and that's a great story. We're sitting in that league meeting, and Ryan, you probably remember.
I was there.
That was like your first or second year, right?
Yeah, first year.
And dude, it was an uproar, like crazy. You get all these adults getting all upset about.
I knew something was different in semi-pro than what I had originally thought from the owner side when Tommy Schultz started the revolution, and we walked into our first meeting with the NYFL. Was it the NYFL then or NFA? I don't remember.
That was the first year of the NFA.
Okay, so the first year of NFA. So we walk in, we sit down, and we're sitting up in like it's stadium seating. We're up at the top, and everyone's talking and talking and talking. And they tried putting us, because we're a new team, they tried to put us playing, what would be considered a softer schedule.
Yeah.
And I raised my hand politely, and I said, no. You're like, what do you mean, no? You're going to play this off? I'm like, no. I didn't come here. I didn't break up from the other team I was associated with and start another team with this new owner to play what would be considered by some as guaranteed wins for us. I go, no.
Right.
Absolutely not. I want to play Syracuse. And I said, if you kick our ass, they kick our ass. I want to play Troy. I want to play, which never happened, by the way, we still don't know how that happened. I said, but if they kick our ass, they kick our ass. And trust me, we got our asses kicked. We lost to the Sting 72-0. So we got our asses kicked, but we also fought. We did suck, man. Hey, the startup team. Ryan, do we need to go back to what it's like to start up a team?
Hey.
So it was brutal.
Sting and Cuse right off the rip. Our first 2 games ever was.
I think you're right. Yeah, you guys got
good.
Back-to-back perennial stud teams. Yeah, that's not a good way to structure. So yeah, it's different. It's weird how the thought processes are of owners, and to me, I wasn't going to waste time. I want to know what we have, and if you kick our ass, you kick our ass, and you did. And then one of the reasons that led me to the Shock was because the way we rebounded to play the Shock. I ended up going to join the Shock after playing the Shock. You guys whooped our ass the first time. Then you came to our home later in the year, and we played you. We were in the game until the fourth quarter, where you guys just ended up outmanning us, and we couldn't hang with you because we had 30 players, and you had friggin' 60 athletes.
And that's usually how that happens.
And that's when I got approached to ask to come join with you guys because what we did there. So to me, that's what it's about, right? And you're gonna have leagues. Wink, wink. You're gonna have leagues that don't want that right now, or have in the past. And so sometimes it's hard, even if you're a 14-year team, to switch leagues because they don't want that smoke, as the boys would say today, right? They don't want that smoke. So that's what Ryan was up against, unfortunately. And dude, you have, again, to this day, you have one of the best teams I've ever seen ran on the field, off the field. It seems you're always doing the right thing, saying the right thing. And I'm sure behind the scenes, you're like, oh, fuck, why did I say that? Or why did I do that? But, in the general public, you're one of those owners that I followed throughout the years. I'm like, that dude he just gets it. And if I could do it all over again, I would model a team after what you do.
Yeah, I stole a lot too when I first started from teams. Like, I remember everybody does too. And I mean, you look at who does things right, and you kind of play off of that. And for me, I think the biggest thing that I've always kind of prided myself on is just being honest with players, whether it's good or bad, players, coaches, other owners, league officials. Just be honest with them, and if they don't like it, it is what it is. But at least I can sleep at night and think I'm doing the best of what I could for players and coaches that we have.
That's for sure.
What do you see? Obviously, this year's. Will we see a league? I know the EFL decided to say no. Do you know if the NFA is going to go ahead and play or what?
My gut opinion on it would be no. And I don't think it's as much as COVID going around.
Yeah.
We joked as league owners that, we kind of socially distance at our games anyway,
Right.
with as many fans as you get packing it in. So
Yep.
I think it's just more the school rentals. Everybody plays it, for the most part, plays at a high school or a college, and to rent those facilities right now are just, slim and none.
Right. Which sucks because you want to play ball, but then you don't want to put people in danger. I mean, I know for me, I canceled 2 strongman contests because I'm like, you know what? It's really not worth
No.
dealing. If somebody does get sick, like for me, I'll put myself in that situation. I'll play if I was playing football. I'll play football. Let's go. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I can't put anybody else in that situation and be okay with it in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, that was my initial feeling too, and I expressed that to the JR league commissioner and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I know there are teams out there. I mean, there's teams practicing like full, like nothing's even going on, and I'm just kind of
Yeah.
sitting back, scratching my head, like elderly family members and
Right.
people that have underlying health conditions and things like that. To me as an owner, I couldn't do that.
What do you see as the future for you guys down in Troy, man?
I don't know. I think we're really becoming younger now. A lot of the older vets that are just, they played out their careers and stepping down.
Yep.
Really getting younger. I think this would have been the first year that we had a full-on coaching staff. I mean, I had 10 coaches this year. So really just trying to build it into maybe not something that's known in New York, but a little more. Do I think we'll travel, all over the country and play? No. It's just, to me, it's never been like a long-term feasibility plan.
Do you think it's funny? Because I know the Strong is in a league where they have to travel all over the place. Which, and for me, and I know Kenny, I never like to travel outside of New York, to be honest with you, to play games. Like, you would go to Scranton, you know what I mean? And every once in a while, maybe in New Hampshire or something like that, or, but I always thought there's plenty of teams in New York. What the hell are we traveling all over the place?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I couldn't do it. I mean, asking guys, and I think that's what Albany kind of started to run into locally. Me just being an outsider, my opinion of it is, you're traveling to Virginia and DC and all over the country, and then your Sunday's gone. Your time with your family's gone on Saturday to travel and all that. So like you said, there's plenty of teams in New York, and we got great competition in New York too. I mean, there really are some good teams.
For sure. It's cool to say, I can sit back and say, oh, I've played football in Canada. I've played football in Tennessee. I've played football in Virginia. I've played football in, you can name the states, all of the Northeast, Pennsylvania, and, any part of New England, right? That's cool. Cause let's be honest, most of us that in high school, no one else can say that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so like, hey, that's kind of cool. I played in other states, but at the same time, it's like you just said, I remember not getting home till Sundays.
Oh, yeah.
Sleeping all of Sunday away. And
that 5-hour trip to Quebec or to Montreal was always just like, why are we? And for us, it was 5. I mean, Ryan, you guys going up there, that's probably like an 8-hour trip, right?
We had some insane travel last year, and that was one of the reasons why I was looking at leaving the NFA this past season. I mean, we went to Buffalo twice. We went to Rochester 3 times, and then to Q. So our travel last year, I mean, it was insane. I mean, you're like you said, you're getting home at 5 a.m. on a Sunday, and wife and everybody else. So
so for the listeners, right? So for the listeners, he's traveling from the eastern part of New York State to the far west of New York State. That can be as long, depending on traffic, that could be 5-6 hours, right?
Yeah. So it's mostly 5-hour trips, and
so it's
4.5.
Craziness. Yeah, you're spending 10 hours in a car to play a 3-hour game. It's
when you're in your 20s. When you're in your 20s, that's okay, right?
Oh,
as you hit that 30-year-old mark, you're like, oh man, all right, listen, I'm only traveling with like 2 to 3 guys because we need to spread out in this car. You know what I mean? Because we're gonna be all hurting on the way home. And then I've never played. I think what was the last time we played, Kenny? Jesus.
Well, my last time suiting up was
2012.
62,
right? That was the last time. 2009 was the last time I played player coach as the Rev. So 09, because 10 I went to the Shock and didn't suit up again.
2012. I mean, I was ice bathing it after every day on Sunday. I was ice bathing the deck.
So speaking of last games, Ryan, when did you retire from playing quarterback to officially full-time owner / head coach?
End of 2014, or no, 2015. I played a little bit, and then my shoulder just kept dislocating, and that was time. I had the surgery on it in 2014. I came back, played the playoffs, and then 2015, a couple games in, that was it.
It's one of those, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
I already had surgery. It pops out one more time. Like, now I jump into bed funny, and it comes out. And I'm like, oh, this is awesome.
Right. It's funny because at like 38, I'm like, oh, I used to say, yeah, I'm going to play till I was 35. Then 35 came and I 3/4 tore my ACL. And I'm like, yeah, I might play one more year. And it healed on its own in the off season. I'm like, I'll play one more. I'll play. Then I woke up and it was like every day for 8 months, my body was completely sore. And I'm like, dude, this is it. I just,
I tell you, I don't know how Al Preston for us. I mean, the guy started with this in 2007, and he was 35 at the time, and he's still suiting up to play. And great guy. And I always say to him, like, why are you still doing this? He's like, I like to get out of the house, give me some exercise. I love being sore just from practice. I'm like, you're a sick.
That's wild. And it's funny because as you get older, it's more compression. It's knee sleeves and it's ankle, and it's wrist and it's this. And, in 2012, I was just like, we were in the playoffs. I look at my buddy Chico. I'm like, it's the last ride, bro. He's like, this is the last ride, man. Let's go out and get it done, do what we can do. But you realize real quick that when you're done, you're done. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, in semi-pro, a lot of guys can't do that. They can't just let it go. You know what I mean? It's like, they have to prove something. Like I had nothing left to prove even when I came back to play for Kenny. I was just like, I'm just doing this because I want to play still. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. There's been a few guys. I mean, over the years, I mean, we've had guys. I had a guy that was a 53-year-old rookie the one year. Like, what do you want out of this? He's like, I just want to hang out and get away from the wife. I'm like, all right, right. I guess this is it then.
Yeah. I want to be with the guy.
There's a little bit safer choices. They call that bar league softball. You could,
yes.
You could play. What's the thing where the beanbag thing? What do they call that thing?
Cornhole, baby.
Cornhole. Yeah, you could play cornhole or horseshoes or something. A lot less contact.
Bocce ball league. Anything.
Yeah. Hey, I'm 53. I haven't played football in 30 years. Let me just suit them up and we're gonna go play.
He used to come out more gear than I've ever seen. Elbow pads, extra knee pads, neck rolls, the whole nine. I'm like, man, if you got to put on that much gear to play, jeez.
Yes.
Right.
Listen, the good neck rolls were the ones that were literally a roll. Yeah. And I remember starting my rookie year, I took that and I would wrap a towel and then duct tape the towel on it to give it that higher shelf on the back of your shoulder pads. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was the old school.
Yeah, the old school stuff.
I'm a tad bit old.
Ryan's in that half old school, half new school. He's kind of like he's that fine line between generations.
Oh, I remember wrapping the towels or at high school, like wrapping. I used to play offensive line and stuff with D line in high school at times when I was in JV, and you wrap the neck roll in the towels just to look a little bigger. You're taller. I was taller, so it was like, I might be.
When I was in college, you're like, you realize you can't do that. I'm like, but who's going to tell me? I mean, the jersey's going to be tucked over it. And they're like, all right, do whatever you need to do. Okay, good, because I'm going to do it anyways.
So Ryan, let's go. I want 2 memories from you. We'll call this here in a little bit here, but give me 2 memories. Okay. I want one as a player, and then one as a owner/coach as your best memories with Irish.
Ooh. Player would have had to have been 2013, 2014 in Lockport in the championship down. I want to say we were down 18 with like 5 minutes left or something like that. We came back and won. That was probably the greatest game I've been a part of. As a coach and owner, beating Watertown in the semifinals a couple years back. I was the only coach on the coaching staff, and I did offense, defense, special teams, the whole nine. It was terrible. I never want to do that again. And
it's brutal.
We beat Watertown, I want to say by 6 or something like that, on an interception when all the Plattsburgh guys went over to Watertown to play.
Yeah.
So they had some talent that year, but that was probably one of the better coaching moments.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I actually did all that, which is torture. but our fullback
It's
also
bad.
got hurt that year, and we were understaffed. So good old number 88 came out of retirement and head coached, and played some fullback.
Oh
Ouch!
God!
That was
God
brutal.
bless you.
That was brutal. But hey, it
He
happens.
said that to me in 2012. He was like, "Hey man, I think I got a game left in me." I'm like, "No, you don't. Just stop. Like, what are you doing?"
Well, I think what happened was the year before 20. Was it the year you were there when I got suited up in a practice? Were you there that year?
I came back. Yeah, it was 2011 when you did that.
Okay, so
that's the year I came back.
So 2011, some fullback was gone, and he had been gone for like 8 weeks, and he comes back and he tries to jump in first rotation. So number one, he was my third stringer anyway, and he hops in the rotation. I said, "Dude, I told you to wait your turn. You're not up yet." He goes, "I've been out for 8 weeks. I'm taking my turn." And then I said, "Get out of my huddle." He goes, "You think you're so fucking bad? Why don't you go put your shit on?" I went, "Hold on." Boom, I sprinted to my car. He didn't know I had my helmet and shoulder pads in my car on call at all times. I put them on. I came back to the practice field. I said, "All right, fucker, how do you want to do this?" He goes, "I play linebacker." I said, "Good, because I'm a natural fullback. This ought to be real good." Dude, I lit him up 2 plays in a row. He was so upset. Freaking Flash took them both for touchdowns. I even said, I go, "Hey, we're running a lead right here." And I pointed to the hole. Right here. Plowed the dude. The second time I did it to him, he started fighting with me. And then, the guys broke it up. Some of the linemen broke it up. And then later at the end of the year, we were in Nashville. We were playing for a trip to go to the
that was
the Nationals.
2010. Yeah, I wasn't there that year.
2010.
Yep.
It was a trip to go to the Nationals. And the kid comes over because I wasn't head coach. I was offense coordinator. And the kid comes back. Coach let him back after he suspended him. Comes over to me in the Nationals game and he says, "Coach Kenny, now that the season's over," he said, "I just want to say one thing. You gave me the biggest fucking headache I've ever had in my life." He goes, "You ran me over, not once, but twice." He goes, "Not bad for an old man." I was like, it happens. So, and then after that, I'm like, "Yeah, I can play another year." Woo!
No, not at all.
He's like, "No, you're done. You're done."
No, I run some scout team here and there, throwing the ball, and I'm like, sore for 4 days after. I'm like, no, thanks.
Yep.
No shot.
Yep.
No shot. So where do you see the Irish? Let's say, we're going to kick this year out, but what do you think, like in 5 years? What do you see for the Irish? Anything changing?
I hope so. Only because I don't know how long I can actually do it. I think the biggest thing I've been trying to do is really build a board, and in my opinion, I think that's the only teams in semi-pro that really lasts is when you really get the community involved. We had a local team in Brunswick that just folded this past year. Justin Morris was the owner. He came on board this year to help out. He's fantastic. The guy, anything admin wise, and just a real genuine guy. But just trying to find some football minded people like that, and really build a good board so I can kind of ease my way out before probably my wife kills me or something like that.
So
Yeah,
you're working on your exit plan for you personally, but you definitely intend on the team sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it stays. I mean, I'll still be involved in some way, shape, or form, I'm sure. But I hope it sticks around and really stays part of the Troy community. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, you guys know this, on how many guys stay off the streets from just doing dumb things on Saturday, Friday, Saturday nights and stuff because they're worried about a football game. Which is a good thing.
I've had dudes come up to me in practice and thank me.
Yeah,
Coach, thanks for doing this because I'd be in jail. One told me I'd be dead. So it's especially in times that are going on today. It's good to know that you're affecting people in the right way. And providing something that, listen, we're as owners, hey, we're owners. It sounds cool, right? But the reality is all you're owning are the bills. You're paying the bills. You're owning the organizational duties. You're the person that everyone can lean on and say, "Hey, what about this? We had a board, it was mostly myself and Al, the co-owner. We were listed co-owners, whatever, but we relied on Jamie and Chico and Melissa, who was a previous on the board previously before we got there. You're right. You can't do this alone. One person doing everything, and including trying to coach. man, it's brutal. It's torture.
It's a lot, and that's why this past year I had a really solid group of coaches last year that all came back, and they're all guys that football-minded guys, could probably be coaching at the high school level as head coaches, and may just not have the time, whether it's family or work or any situation, but they can do 2-3 times a week, and I grew that. I really went out. I got some ex-players to come back and coach. And I was excited for this season, with all the help. I'm looking around, I'm like, I don't have to coach a position in practice. I can just hang out and kind of oversee things. Like, this is going to be awesome. But
yeah, we had that going.
I was just going to say that it's eerily similar to our 2013 season.
Yeah.
So we had like a 10-team, we had a 10-person coaching staff, kind of like what you're saying. I recruited guys from Watertown, came down. Hantke was, going to help coach. I think Chico was going to help coach too that year. We had a whole bunch of dudes lined up, and then work gets in the way, right? The owner of the dealerships I worked at calls me in and says, "Hey, I want to promote you." He said, "But you're going to be the general manager of a store. You can't run your football team and be a general manager of a store." And I'm like, dude, seriously, I need to think about that. He's like, "Really? You're going to pass up, blah, blah, blah to." I'm like, yeah, let me think about it. So the next day, I called Melissa, I talked to Jamie, I talked to everybody I talked to, and I was like, here's what to do. And they all pretty much said, which shocked me, to be honest with you, is they said, career comes first, man. Take care of you and your daughter, take care of you and your daughter. And I always say, and I was interviewed by a paper one time at Syracuse University, and I pretty much said to them, life gets in the way. And, if we could all do this, if this were free and we could all do this for eternity, I would do it till they shoveled the last piece of dirt on me. Right. But the reality is life gets in the way. And, I hope, the good news is Melissa was strong enough to take that team. And basically she became the coach, because we lost all the coaches. Once I left, the coaches all had to start, this guy got promoted. Another guy got promoted. Ambrose at work got promoted. And it was just like the dominoes started falling. Everybody's jobs are changing. And Melissa hung in there for the last year, and we had to shut it down after that. They won the league title. Melissa kept the trophy, and it was the last year that I was quote owner. And, we had to shut it down after that. And that's, I think, when, Germ and Jeff came and played for you that year. So
those were some great guys.
They're great dudes. And they're 2 peas in a pod, those guys. They're awesome. But I just hope, and by the sounds of it, you've got a lot more in place. We had a small board, but you're starting to move towards, and I just hope, for your community and all the hard work you've put in over these 14 seasons, that your fate is, a lot better than what ours ended up being, unfortunately, that year, because it's a great thing you're doing for, for the people and the players, it's a great thing. So other than that, let me ask you this. We touched on this last week. This is going to be our new question.
God,
like our outgoing question for every new meeting. Can you name?
Because there's one thing, Kenny, before you say that, there's one thing that we all know through Semi-Pro.
Here we go.
We all have about 50 stories that we can tell in the drop of a dime on some dumb shit that happened, some crazy shit that happened, and just random stories, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's plenty.
So I don't know if you got a chance to watch last week's episode, but our topic at the close of the call was fights.
Ooh.
So we want to hear your most epic fight in your 14 seasons, whether it's owner, player, innocent bystander, whatever it is. We want to hear your best fight. Not that you were personally in, that the team itself was in.
We've had some interesting ones. As an owner, I think the funniest one I was ever a part of, I don't know, you guys remember Harold out in Lindenville.
Yeah.
Great guy. But
that team was something different.
There was a year that he was fighting in the owners meeting with somebody and threatened to stab him with a pencil in the eye to kill them. And I could not stop laughing when he said it.
I missed that.
Yeah, that was those meetings used to be intense back in NYAFL turning over to the NFA. Some of those meetings where you just sit back and kind of look like,
Oh.
what the heck is going on here?
Owner meetings are intense. That's for sure.
We did have a championship game end in a fight, and it was nothing other. We were playing Finger Lakes the one year, and we killed them at home. It was like 35-6 or 35-0 in like the middle of the third, and our one receiver catches a touchdown pass on the kid and just whispers in his ear like, you can't guard me or something stupid to the kid, and he just starts fighting. And the brother of him, actually, the corner from Finger Lakes, came over and body slammed his own brother, and that was the end of the game. It wasn't even a fight between us. The kid
No
gets
shit.
beat, he pushes our receiver, and then the brother comes over and slams him on the ground, and like ref just walked off the field. It's like, all right, I guess this is over.
We're done. Oh, man.
What do you do with that? Right? It's like the refs are just like, we're gonna call that one. That's a game
between team and team. Yep, that was an interesting one.
That's funny.
It's funny you bring Harold from Lindenville. Damn, I got some Lindenville. We all have.
Oh, everybody's got those. Everybody's got those. I think some of the funnier stories in semi-pro are the things you get accused of as an owner or team.
Oh yeah.
And it's wild to me. I mean, some of the ones like, I had a team one time say we spread human poop all over the locker room walls, but they didn't tell us until like almost a year later. They were like, "You did this." I'm like, "You think if that happened, you would have probably been calling me the next day." Like, come on, like what?
Yeah. You're gonna screw up our damn, this, that, and the other.
Eight months to try to accuse you of it, and you just look at it like, why? All because you beat somebody and they get upset.
Why did you lose?
I think that used to be Buffalo. I know when we went to Buffalo once, we had to take a shower with a garden hose.
Oh,
that was fun.
That
might have been the one.
Listen, there was a time we played in Vermont. The Vermont Gladiators, I think they were a green and white team. So first of all, it's a jaunt. It's one of those 6-hour rides, right? So we're taking the 6-hour ride and we get lost. So we show up late, right? So we're there right about time before DQ happens, right? So we roll up in the bus. We're screaming at the refs, "Hey, we're here. We made it, blah, blah, blah." We're getting dressed out in the yard. We're literally out. Like they pulled up. The field's out there. We get out there. We're racing. We're in the yard. We're in our gear. We run out on the field. There's only the outline of the field in chalk. And they
didn't do the rest of the lines?
And they have PVC pipes that are blowing in the wind as uprights. And I'm like, wait a minute. So we just drove 6 hours. We're late. We just rushed to go from the bus to here, and we don't even know if we're going to kick a field goal because things are blowing in the breeze. So that was a good time. That was a good time. And that was a team
been there.
Man, our fullback played tailback because our tailback got hurt the week before. He had a concussion. So Moose played our tailback for us. And dude, he went for like 150 yards. The funny thing was, I'm playing and I'm blocking my dude, and Moose breaks off another one. Boom, he scores like his third touchdown. And the guy goes, "Wow, your tailback's really good." I said, "Yeah, too bad he's our fullback. Our real tailback's over there on the sideline drunk. He's been drinking Crown all morning. So he's over there." Moose goes off on these guys. These guys are like, "Wow, this tailback's amazing." I'm like, "Yeah, he's our fullback, dude. Wait till you play our real tailback." But no, that was good times. That was a great trip. Not so much.
Well, Ryan, my man, we appreciate you hanging with us today, brother, and just chopping it up and talking a little semi-pro and
hey, get some football in there, right? With everything going on,
one way or another.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely. And listen, when football starts up again, we're going to guess probably next year at some point. We'd like to hear, if you're still on. I mean, if you're still on the board and coaching.
Plan B here.
That's right. Oh yeah, forgot about that. Forgot to bring that up. That's a good way to go out here. What's your plan B? Totally forgot about that.
So there has been talks about 8 to 10 teams between in the state and pretty much New York State that have all been talking about doing a larger tournament. So sometime in probably September into early October, just trying to, like I said, just play a bigger tournament and get some type of football in, get guys out and exercising and all that, just at least have something. And
Right.
And
So are we
maybe
talking
do it
like a
at one or
4
two.
games each or something like that, or like a best of, or is
Yeah,
it?
yeah. Nobody's really hammered out the details. I think it's we're looking just for a couple weekends over. Play some double headers. I'll do it at maybe two locations, and that way too we can take any precautions and maybe not have locker rooms and just have guys get dressed there.
Right.
And try to figure out some clean ways to be able to play and still have some games this season.
Yeah, it's for, and I'd mentioned in an earlier episode that what sucks about the whole Corona thing is there's going to be dudes that are in their last year that they were like, this is it. They flipped that switch in their mind. This is the last year. And then Corona says, you sure about that? Right. Corona has different plans for them. So I would hate to be, because I remember what it was like my last year. It's your swan song, and it's emotional, especially been playing as long as we've been playing. You've been around. It's emotional, and so to have that taken away from you, you know what I mean? So I hope you do have the opportunity to let some of these dudes, even if it's 1 game, 2 games, 4 games,
Yeah.
whatever the tournament ends up being, that at least they can go out kind of more on their terms instead of on Corona's terms,
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So
You'll see some of these older guys done after this year too. I mean, I think, like you said, in their mind, everybody says they're done, and then they come back, they play one more year. I think a season off, I think a lot of those guys would truly actually be done. And like you said, go out on their own terms.
well, it's hard, especially with our, at our level, that once something shuts down in the semi-pro world, that's what makes your 14 season so amazing is, if there's even a crack of shutting down, that can break down a team so fast that it's over. The team can't rebound. So, I would hate to see leagues, teams, players not come back after, what Corona has done to everybody. And, for you and whatever other teams are willing to join, join that'd be, that's great for the players and great for the sport, just to let them get one last hurrah before their body says 40's it, or, some might be 22's it, whatever the number is.
Yeah, right.
So, all right, man. Appreciate you joining us. Like I said, we'll reach out hey, maybe once that tournament happens, we'll jump in and, what I told Hantke is one of these days, maybe we can actually go to a game and, maybe do some highlights or something from one. We'll see what my schedule allows this summer. So, or / fall by that point. So
Yeah.
who knows, maybe we'll do a little game play-by-play or something for a half or a quarter or something. We'll figure something out, but, we appreciate you joining us. I know it's a Friday night and the wife's probably, hey, don't you do enough with football already? So tell her, thanks for, tell her we said, thanks for loaning you to us. And, we look forward to talking to you in the future, and good luck to you with whatever 2020 brings.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Have a good one, buddy.
You too.
See you now. All right, man. That's awesome. I love having Ryan. And that's somebody that, although we hung out a little bit at league meetings, like I said, I really didn't know much about his story. I didn't know why he got to football. I didn't know, why he wanted to be an owner. But it all, kind of makes all sense now. And again, you can't cover 14 season and all his championships in, an hour's worth of here. So, it'd be good to have him back once they start playing football again.
I think it's funny that nobody ever really wants to be an owner. I never wanted to have anything to do with being an owner. You know what I mean?
Me neither.
I think what happens is, and this happens with a lot of people, and there's a certain percentage that can actually go from this to owning or being part of a board or whatever it is. And then there's some guys that have that, well, I'm tired of the way this goes. I want to make my own team, but they don't do anything with it. You know what I mean? Like you said to me earlier, I will only spend so much time in the gray area before I make a decision and go.
Right.
So I think that, that's kind of the thing.
Yeah. But for anyone that knows me, the only thing gray about me is on my head and on my beard, right? There's not a big gray area for me. I will spend a few moments. Now, those moments could be minutes. Those moments could be hours, could be days, could be weeks, depending on the decision. But I'll spend a few minutes figuring out the pros and the cons, and then I make a decision and I move forward. It could be good or bad, and whatever the decision is, I try to learn from it, and I don't look back. So, but that's my personality. And Ryan was one of those ones that he had to travel a little bit to go to the Colonials, and he figured, hey, let's do this closer to home, even though there's another team that's a powerhouse here. Again, the capital city is a big area, So he knew he had the talent. He knew people from high school in the area. So he had that advantage. So where me, like you had mentioned, owners, what happened? I just kind of stumbled into it. I mean, a player asked me when I was coaching for the Revolution to come join your staff as a coach. I thought about it. I was just going to retire and walk away. I thought about it. All right, it's a good opportunity. I came in. And then once there, you know, Melissa wanted a breather at the end of that season, and she came to me and asked me if I'd be interested in, you know, taking the reins. And I had to think about it. And, you know, again, pros and cons, took a few days, made my decision and went forward with it. And I don't regret it. You know, it cost me a lot of money, but it also made a lot of friends, and we were able to, you know, you wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here with you right now if it weren't for that. You know, so there's a lot of big decisions, you know, that we made, and we made them as a group, and we made them quickly, swiftly. We didn't drag our feet about them. And, you know, and just like when I called you on this, I said, hey man, I want to do a Monday? I'm like, hey, I want to do a podcast on talking football. Like, yeah, sure. Hey man, that'd be cool. Yeah. As soon as you said yes, I said, all right, we're recording Friday. And you're like, okay, cool. That works. Yeah. So, you know, it was pretty much, you know, I'm
used to getting tossed in the fire when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, especially being, you know, radio personality, you have that opportunity to, you know, so sweet. So yeah, it's, again, I appreciate Ryan joining us, and I learned a lot, you know, about the history of the Fighting Irish.
Well, there it is, my friends. Episode number 5 of the Semi-Pro Gridiron Rant in the books. Kendall, in the books. You gray-haired fellow, you.
You can call me the Silver Fox. I'm okay with that. I mean, you're going to give me a nickname every week. I'm going to put that on my screen name this week. Instead of Coach, I'm going to put Silver Fox.
Great. That's awesome.
Silver Fox.
Well, we're going to wrap this puppy up and see you next week. And we'll enjoy ourselves for the rest of the week.
All right, buddy. Have a good week.
See you.